Welcome, everybody, to the Nuggets of Gold podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about the 49ers wide receiver 3 battle. There's a couple names that definitely need to be brought up, and then there's a couple long shots that are fun to talk about. But we're going to go over 3 guys mainly today, those guys being Austin Watkins Jr., Richie James Jr., and Jalen Hurd. Now, those are the 3 guys I think that are really competing for the roster spot. There's also a couple other names that you got to bring up, like Travis Benjamin, Mohamed Sanu, River Craycraft, Kevin White, and the 49ers also traded for a guy named Sherfield from the Cardinals, and he can kind of maybe make the roster as a deep threat. I think he probably will make the roster, but I don't think he's going to be this wide receiver 3 in terms of touches in the offense. But I think right now you have 2 locks for making the team, and those guys are Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel. You could probably put Jalen Hurd in that name as well, or that range as well, just because former 3rd-round pick, haven't really got to see him. Injuries have plagued his career, but I think we should start this one out with Austin Watkins. And I'll let you start out, Aiden. What are just your overall thoughts when you kind of turned on the tape of Austin Watkins, and what did you like about him? And really, what do you think his role can be on this 49ers team?
So Austin Watkins is 6'1", 210, built pretty much exactly to Mohamed Sanu, who's 6'2", 210. Went to UAB and absolutely killed the Senior Bowl. I was really surprised that he didn't get drafted at least late. He's a great route runner, but he's not a burner. One thing that this wide receiver room is missing, with the exception of Travis Benjamin, who I think we both agree probably isn't going to make the roster, so we don't have that vertical deep threat. Watkins isn't the fastest guy, but he's similar to Kendrick Bourne, and I think if he plays well in camp, it's going to be between him and Sanu to really make that roster spot, and I expect him to make the roster. I think he was priority number 1 for the Niners in that undrafted free agent market.
Yeah, I remember when we filmed an episode just about like the day 3 picks, and we were talking about, these are the guys that Niners are taking. They take a running back late in Elijah Mitchell, and you were like, well, hey, hopefully, a guy like Austin Watkins goes undrafted and the Niners can go and capitalize and take him. And that's exactly what happened. He was a pretty big Senior Bowl standout. I watched all of his one-on-ones earlier this morning, which was cool to see. And you just see very technical route running, really smart, a lot of head fakes, a lot of little staggers and whatnot to get open. I love just his overall route running technique, and he created a lot of separation like that. It's really clear he's not, some burner or some guy that's just going to fly out there and be some vertical threat. And that was also something I read in a couple of scouting reports, hey, this guy is limited to not being a vertical threat. Well, that's fine. I mean, the 49ers used Kendrick Bourne in a similar role. Yeah, Kendrick Bourne coming out of Eastern Washington. Now you have Austin Watkins coming out of Alabama, Birmingham. Both these guys are undrafted wide receivers, but they're really good at just finding ways to get open. And you bring up Austin Watkins, kind of his skill set. I think it's definitely going to be he's going to be a guy that comes in on second, passing downs in medium to short situations, and he's going to come out there and run a 5-yard out, run a little slant route, run a little dig. And I think we're going to see him used in a lot of cases where he comes in and they either have Brandon Ayuk in the slot next to him or George Kittle out wide, and he's going to be that other guy's going to run a dig that's not going to get the defense focused on him, but they're going to be focused on George Kittle or Brandon Ayuk. And I think we're going to see him make a lot of big 3rd-down catches. I fully expect him to make the roster. I like that you brought up Sanu as kind of the guy that he's competing with. And I do think there's a way that both of them make the roster, but I think in terms of touches, they're going to be competing for, all right, who's going to get these touches? And if he looks good in camp, we should fully expect him to kind of be maybe not the wide receiver 3, but I think the wide receiver 4. Even though I think out of these guys we're going to talk about today, and Austin Watkins, Richie James, and Jalen Hurd, I think he probably gets the least amount of catches, but he's going to have very impactful catches, I think. And I think we're going to see him come in there, 3rd and 5, runs a 7-yard dig, gets it, big first down, early on in the season even. And I think we'll kind of see that mold and that great route running and just ability to go out and catch the ball. Also, another thing I want to bring up is he adjusts to the ball really well. And he has really strong hands. A lot of his catches are coming when he makes a catch and someone comes and drills him in the back, or, there's a lot of contact around it, and he's able to hang on to the ball and just make really good catches. So lack of drops early on can really bode well for him in training camp.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. You brought up the impactful catches. Who does that sound like? It sounds a lot like Kendrick Bourne to me, a guy that we lost in free agency. I think that it's going to be more of a committee to replace Bourne, but like you said, I fully expect Watkins to make some sort of impact in that regard.